One of the most important aspects of programming is the ability to express logic in our programs. Now, we talked about the fact that sequential execution involves the program just running from top to bottom, one line at a time, and that's the order in which it goes in. We want to be able to change that, and that's where conditionals come in. So a conditional statement is a statement that will cause some code to execute in one type of condition and another set of code to execute in another condition. And the most fundamental conditional is the if. In Scala, if can be an expression or a statement. So we'll run the REPL here real quick, and I will make an age. We'll say that the age is 18. And let's say I wanted to be a bouncer in a bar and I needed to respond to whether or not someone could come in. Well, we'll make a response here. And the thing is, if I were to express this in English, I would say if their age is greater than or equal to 21, or I'd probably say in English, if they're 21 or older, then they're allowed to come in. Yeah. I'm going to say something very similar in Scala. I'm going to say if their age is greater than or equal to 21, come in, else get lost. Now, in this case, I made age 18, so we get the get lost response there. This is using the if as an expression. Remember, an expression is something that has a value and a type to it. This whole thing here gave us back a value. It evaluated to the string get lost. Okay, so that's how we know that it's an expression, and that allowed us to use it on the right-hand side of an assignment when we're initializing a variable. We could have done the same thing without using the if as an expression, using the if as a statement, and there are a few ways that we could write that. We could say if, so first, response 2, I'm going to make a var here, and in Scala I have to give it some initial value. So one way of doing this would be to say if age is greater than or equal to 21, then response is going to be assigned equal to come in, else response is set equal to get lost. I run that. Response 2, sorry. Response 2, response 2. Did I mistype? Repose. Okay, well, we'll just redo that. RESPO. There. And there. Okay. And now if I look at response 2, it's not the empty string. It says get lost. That's one way that I could format that. Quite honestly, if I were to write this, I probably wouldn't write it on one. If I write it as a statement, I don't put it on one line like this. I break it up. If age is greater than or equal to 21, and then I would actually use blocks of code, which I create with curly braces. We'll talk more about those in just a second. Response 2 equals come in, close the block of code, else response 2 equals get lost, close the curly brace, and we know we're done. And of course response 2 is just the same here. The third way that I could do this would be to not put this in a variable, but just to say print it. And in that case I would definitely want to use the statement form. I personally prefer the use of the expression over this type of statement, and that's at least in part because, as we talked about before, I want to avoid the use of var if at all possible, because by changing this I'm introducing some complexities into the logic. When I use the if as an expression, I created the response, it had its value, and then it didn't change after that. But if I was going to have this actually do printing, then inside of here, I would say print line come in, else print line get lost. And then it does something for us. And generally the statement form of the if is best when you're going to have it do something like this. In fact, in general, we use this when what is happening in here is something that we call a side effect. It changes something else. It could be that it does a print or it does an assignment, but it needs to kind of make something happen inside of there. Whereas the expression form, which is up here a fair ways, this version, the if doesn't really make anything happen. What the if does is it just gives us back a value. Okay? And then we can use that value for other things later on. So that's your basic introduction to the nature of the if and how it can be used either as an expression or a statement.